Welcome back. As part of our series meeting with the gubernatorial candidates this week, I'm joined by State Senator Sharon Hewitt. Thank you for being here.
I'm glad to be here. Thank you, Shannon.
It's been a busy campaign trail already. I know you've been to 26 forums as of we record this, so I just want to hit on a few more policy-driven questions to kind of break down some of your thought process should you be elected. So just off the bat, given the GOP endorsements early on and multiple Republican candidates, I just want to hear about why you also wanted to throw your name into this race.
Well, I think I'm the best qualified candidate to run. What I bring to the table is an executive leadership experience from my work in the oil and gas industry, one of the most important industries in our state. And I was negotiating deals with major companies that would translate directly to a job in state government where you're bringing in economic development, right? I've managed the budget, right, on a company-wide basis. Well, that plays very well into managing the state's budget. So I bring all of that corporate leadership experience as well as 8 years in the legislature where I understand how government works, I know what our challenges are, I know what our opportunities are, and I think I have a strong track record of actually being a doer, not just a talker, right? So it's different to talk about what you would do if you were governor, but I think I've demonstrated that I have already done much of the work to move the ball down the field, and I think that I see now you can do so much as a senator or one of 144 legislators, but the governor is the one that sets the vision, right? They build the team, they build the collaboration. No one's going to do that better than I will. And so I do think I'm the best qualified, and I look forward to having an opportunity to do that.
And you talked about the budget, and the state legislature has really focused on early childhood education, higher education, really just focusing on our kids and their learning environment. And there's been major investments in recent years. You know, we're still figuring out how the change in tax revenue is going to be in the out years. But how would you plan to continue these major investments that we very much need for our children?
Well, you know, when you have a $44 billion budget, you know, $400 million here or there ends up being actually a very small number. You know, that's 1% of the budget. It's almost round off error for some of our agencies. And so I know we get kind of all wrapped up in, you know, what's going to happen when the 0.45 sales tax rolls off and all of those things. I am not as worried about that because we can't forecast to that level of accuracy at this point, you know, several years out. But I am committed to funding education, and I have been a strong proponent of education. I have passed lots and lots of education bills. Early childhood and education is very important, and it gives opportunities for those parents to, you know, go into the workforce and to get additional skills if they need to. I've been a champion on literacy. You know, I passed legislation 2 years ago that switched us to phonics, and we're starting to see the benefit of that. Louisiana was one of only 3 states where we actually increased our reading scores. This year I passed a bill to start working on math. Our scores from 4th grade through 8th grade have been dropping in math, and so we're going back to the basics in math with arithmetic as we did with phonics. I have been a big proponent of dual enrollment and industry-based certifications in the high schools so that we give kids multiple pathways to success. Not everyone wants to go to college. Many of these students can go right into the workforce, and same with the 2-year and the 4-year schools. So this year I passed a bill on the foster promise, right, which is allowing adult age students, generally they're 27 years old, who have a couple of kids, a couple of jobs, they can't quite make ends meet. They want new skills, but they can't afford the $5,000 to go to a community college. This is going to give them the opportunity to do that because we're going to pay for their first semester with state dollars. That's funding from state dollars, the Foster Promise program, that then will put them in touch with a financial counselor and allow them to get other federal funding to help offset their cost. These are all in some of the best investments you can make because we're investing in the people of Louisiana. And I think that the curriculum changes that we need to do in high school, the 2-year schools and the 4-year schools to prepare people better for the workforce jobs that we have in our state is absolutely what we have to do, and we can do that. And I think we have invested as a legislature in in all of these different aspects of education. I'm going to continue to do that, plus more. We know our teachers are underpaid. I'm going to make sure we get our teachers, up to a competitive salary, because if you don't have good teachers, none of the rest of this really matters.
Right, and something that is rather unfortunately impacting our children is crime, and that's a topic that's really taken a big focus of this campaign season, and we've heard a lot of sound bites about this situation. But I want to hear about maybe a few specific policies that you would try to push in the legislature should you be elected.
Well, crime is a big issue, and I think for the first time, everyday people are feeling like crime is a real possibility, that it could affect them. When you have a carjacking at the Wendy's drive-thru in Slidell, it gets very real. This year I passed a bill dealing with fentanyl. Fentanyl is one of the things I hear about everywhere when I travel the state, and it is kind of part of what is the underlying crime problem is also drugs. So the fentanyl bill I passed, basically increases the penalties for first and second and third offenders that are manufacturing these counterfeit pills in a homemade lab like a kitchen. That, coupled with another bill that kind of throws the book at the dealers, I think is sending a very strong message on fentanyl. In St. Tammany Parish, where I'm from, just this week, we had like a world record bust in terms of fentanyl. They arrested like 130 people in coordination with lots of other law enforcement agencies. Fentanyl is something we have to get out of the state of Louisiana, like we did heroin several decades ago. That's the first thing we can do, and we're going to continue to be focused on fentanyl. I've also learned, during this process that our law enforcement agencies really don't communicate very well with each other. You all have reported issues where we've let prisoners out of jail early, or we have kept prisoners too long. Part of that is a technology issue. I mean, we are so in the dark ages in terms of technology. Victims' families don't understand, sentencing when someone's sentenced to life in prison and the next thing you know, they're out in 10 years. What's happening? And how is good time calculated? We need real truth in sentencing, and we need the technology so that all of these agencies can better communicate and work together. We know we need more boots on the ground. Every agency, whether you're talking about state troopers or sheriffs or local police, are understaffed. They're underpaid, so we're going to increase the pay as well. We're going to make sure we have training academies for the state police on a regular basis, so we're recruiting new people all the time. Those are all very important things that we can do. Reentry programs, on the nonviolent offenders. We did the 2017 criminal justice reform work. That was good policy, I think, what we did. I'm not sure about the fidelity in which it's been implemented. So we need to look at those reentry programs. Are they working? Are we really delivering evidence-based programs so that we take those nonviolent offenders and give them new skills and jobs, right, so they don't go back to their old habits. The violent offenders, we have to really, make sure we're paying attention to that. That is separate from the 2017 work that was done. It's important, and I think that in working with law enforcement, they're ready. I think they want to work together with a new governor, the sheriffs, the DAs, collectively, to kind of map out how we go forward with Louisiana. There's a lot of work to be done in that area.
And as a homeowner, I'm sure you've dealt with the insurance crisis that we're facing, that homeowners insurance is really skyrocketing for people around this state, especially south of I-10. And we recently had a special session to allocate about $45 million to try to bring more companies back here. Just to start off with that topic, can you tell me a little bit about whether you thought that was the best idea or a good idea that the legislature did that?
It's a start. I mean, certainly an incentive program. We know that fortified roofs work. We know that from Alabama. And so if you have a fortified roof on your home, if you can keep your roof, you're not going to have as much damage to your home as if you lose your roof. We have all been through hurricanes and we know that. That's good for the homeowner. It's obviously good for the insurance company because they have less damage and less, claims to deal with. So fortified roofs work. I passed a bill this year that actually says if a homeowner does put on a fortified roof, the insurance companies have to reduce your premiums, and they do it based on an actuarial, analysis, but they have to reduce your premiums. All of those things are going to help, but fundamentally the biggest problem that we have about insurance in our state is that we don't have enough companies in our state that want to write policies. And it's not just because we have a lot of hurricanes, it is also because we regulate the insurance agency. We regulate the insurance market different than other states. And many of them have just said, I don't want to deal with that regulatory regime. One example, and we had several bills this year to take care of this, and these are things that I will support as governor going forward. One is, how do rates get set for insurance? Right now, they get set and approved by the commissioner. In most other states, it's a free market. They get set by the insurance companies themselves and some notification of the insurance commissioner. That's a much better way of doing it, in my opinion. And so that's just one example. I look forward to, again, working with a new legislature, a new insurance commissioner to define those issues and make sure that we're, putting ourselves in a competitive market with the other states.
Right, you hear from so many, you listen into the conversations around this in Congress, a lot of the northern Congress people say, why do you live there? Why do you keep rebuilding down there? Why should we keep sending money to Louisiana? So what's kind of your thoughts around that sentiment as, we here try to continually save our homes?
Well, I think that's a little bit unfair for them to say that, to be honest. Look, we are one of the major energy providers in the country here in South Louisiana. We provide so much of the country's seafood. They need us. They cannot say, you should just sort of walk away from the coast or walk away from Louisiana. The country would come to its knees if we did not do that, support our energy industry and support our seafood industry. And so we do that by rebuilding the coastline and protecting the coast. The flood insurance is killing us. I get so many emails now, and it's heartbreaking to read emails where people are saying, between the property insurance and the flood insurance, I can't afford it, and I don't know what I'm going to do. I mean, you can hear the fear in their voices because they're so concerned about how they're going to make their payment next month. And so we have to continue working with our congressional delegation and getting the NFIB 2.0 program where it's a little bit more fair and better understood. Right now, homeowners don't know the rules. They don't know what their exposure is in the future in terms of flood insurance, where they can make good decisions about whether this is a place where they want to continue to live, or maybe they want to move a little bit further north of I-10, to a different home. But we have to get a handle on the insurance market, and we can do that, I think, both at the state level as well as at the federal level.
And I want to turn now to some of the more social issues that have really taken a big focus of the state legislature and this race as well. Looking back to this legislative session and the veto override session, there was multiple LGBTQ related bills that many thought were discriminatory as the state's version of the Don't Say Gay, the pronouns bill, and the ban on gender affirming care for minors. I know you voted for all of those bills. Can you kind of tell me a little bit about your thought process about supporting those bills?
Yes. Well, I think that, again, the gender affirming care, as you referred to it, is horrible, right? And it was easy for me to vote for that bill and to vote to override the veto. Children are not capable at that age of making those kinds of life-changing decisions. We don't let children make decisions, until they're 18 or 21 or whatever age it is, to drink or to smoke or to do tattoos or to vote or to go to the military. All of those things, those are major issues, as is the idea of wanting to change your gender. And I think that there are too many outside influences, particularly in the world of social media and the internet, where children are not getting necessarily the best advice and their brains are not developed. And so to me, that was a very easy thing to vote on to protect children. I think some of the other bills, we talked about the pronoun bill and
Dodie Horton's bill regarding gender identity and sexual orientation conversations conversations in schools?
Yeah, again, school is not the place for that kind of conversation. I think those conversations are best had in the home with the families, and we need to get back to focusing on the earlier questions you asked about education, right? We pay teachers and we train teachers to be able to teach our kids to read and write and do arithmetic and to be, ready to go into the workforce. And there's so much work to be done there. I just don't think that that is the place where most families want that conversation to happen, is in the schools.
And Louisiana has one of the strictest abortion bans currently in the country. Would you be open or in support of adding any kind of further exceptions into this law that we currently have?
Well, as you may or may not know, I worked very hard with Senator Jackson 2 years ago to help make sure that we have some of the strongest abortion laws or pro-life laws on the books. And as the Dobbs decision had been leaked, we were in session, and that was an opportunity for us to look at all of the legislation that we had done over the many years and to make sure that we didn't have any loopholes in that legislation and to prepare for potential litigation, which of course every state is in. And we did that through an amendment on Senator Jackson's bill to shore up the laws on Louisiana to make sure that we continue to be one of the most pro-life states in the country. We have right now 2 exceptions in the law, and that is protecting the life of the mother and the viability of the fetus. We've talked about, in the public about whether, that language is written clear enough. I believe that it is. Again, that's going to go through the courts, and people that are smarter than I in terms of legal interpretations will look at that. I have not seen any other legislation or any other bills proposed that I thought did a better job than what we have in place right now. And so I'm pretty happy with where we are in the state of Louisiana in terms of our pro-life legislation.
So should you be elected as governor and a bill came to your desk that allowed exceptions for rape and incest, would you sign it or would you veto it?
Well, again, it depends on the bill. I have not seen anything yet, and there have been other rape and incest bills that I thought were horrible. You have to read the bill. I'm going to read the bill before I would make any of that kind of decision. But I don't believe at this point that, I have not seen anything that I would support.
All right, ma'am. Well, just to close, can you just remind voters a little bit about why you think they should vote for you?
Well, thank you. I want to give voters in Louisiana a reason to stay in Louisiana instead of a reason to leave. And I have 2 great examples, Chris and Brad. Our sons live in Seattle and in New York City, and probably will never come back to Louisiana after being born and raised here. And it's because there weren't job opportunities for them here. I want to give our kids and our grandkids the best job opportunities possible. And so you do that by building a good education system, making it an affordable place to live, dealing with the insurance issues, the tax issues that we didn't talk about but are very important, and giving people, again, safe neighborhoods and great opportunities where they want to stay. And I think that I'm the best candidate to do that because I have a proven track record of being a doer. I don't need this job. I never thought I would be in politics. No one of my family's in politics. I am a problem solver. I'm an everyday person, an engineer that is made up to be a problem solver. And I think that if we want to do something different in Louisiana and not just continue to be mediocre, we have to start electing different kinds of people. And so that's what I'm offering to the state. I hope the voters will see that and go to SharonHewitt.com. There's a lot of information out there on our website about what I stand for and the things that I've already accomplished.
All right, well, Sharon Hewitt, Republican candidate for governor, thank you so much for coming on our show.
Thank you, Shannon. Thank you.
We'll be right back.